For what is likely to be pain. Oh no! Oh!
The most fundamental part of pro wrestling is that wrestlers must keep their opponents safe at all times. Wrestlers put their lives on the line on a nightly basis, and it's the onus of their opponent to make sure that the moves are performed correctly. And if something goes wrong, they're in a position to improvise and prevent injuries occurring. Join us now as WrestleMania looks at 10 unnoticeable times WWE wrestlers were saved from serious injury. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos. Number 10. Alexa Bliss. Now on the October 17th, 2025 edition of SmackDown, Sol Rucker and Zarya were given the opportunity of a lifetime. The duo would face Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair for the women's tag team titles, and the match was labeled by many as a test to see if both women were ready for the main roster call-up. Both women impressed in the match, and Zarya even saved Bliss from a serious injury. One of the key spots in the match saw Bliss attempting a Hurricane Rana from the apron, and the spot went badly wrong. It looked like Bliss was gonna land right on her head, but Zarya smartly improvised and planted her knee to the ground, so she stopped the momentum of Bliss's fall with immediate effect. Zarya was then smart enough to come up with a new spot on the fly, as she decided to smash Bliss into the barricade. This was an elaborate spot, but it instantly drew attention away from the botch. This was real quick thinking from Zarya, as she no doubt would have received widespread praise backstage for her care and diligence. Number 9. The Undertaker. The Undertaker's last ride spot is one of the more ambitious finishes in wrestling. The reason for this is whilst the move always looked incredible when delivering it on smaller wrestlers, the dead man often wrestled larger than life wrestlers in WWE, so this could create a problem. Take for instance in 2001, The Undertaker would attempt to hit a last ride on Test on Raw, and it went horribly wrong. The Undertaker failed to judge just how heavy and tall Test was, so when he got him up in the air, he instantly lost his balance. Thankfully, the seasoned pro knew exactly what to do. The former WWE champion would use the ring ropes to his advantage, and he would push his back against them, and this would allow the ropes to support him, and it would also allow Test to push up from the dead man's chest into position. Whilst it did look a little awkward at first, the spot ended up looking amazing, and more importantly, realistic, as Test managed to make it look like he was actively trying to avoid taking the move. Number 8. The Undertaker again. And The Undertaker certainly made a career out of saving wrestlers from injury, and this extended to when fans got carried away. During the Attitude Era, certain fans would overstep established boundaries, and during a match in that era, a fan decided to throw a beer can at the head of Shane McMahon. The Undertaker somehow saw this coming, and he decided to punch it away before shifting his focus back onto McMahon. If this can made contact with McMahon's head, it could have led to a deep laceration or even possibly a concussion, as we're not sure how much beer was left in the can, so we don't know how heavy it was. But hopefully the fan was removed from the arena immediately, as this type of behavior has no place at a WWE show. Number 7. Mr. Kennedy. Now, Hornswoggle was given a huge spot in the annual Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania 23. Hornswoggle was to take a Green Bay plunge from the ladder, and the person delivering this move was Mr. Kennedy. Kennedy wanted to look after Hornswoggle as much as humanly possible, as he had seen wrestlers get injured in these types of matches time and time again. The way Kennedy achieved this was simple. As Kennedy over-rotated on the move, he took 99% of the impact. This was even confirmed by Hornswoggle himself during an interview with Chris Van Vliet. The spot looked incredible, and it was fantastic to discover that both men came out of the spot without any injury. Number 6. Chris Jericho. Concussions are one of the most serious injuries a wrestler can suffer in the ring. Thankfully, thanks to modern-day research and investment, we know a lot of information around concussions and head trauma, and top wrestling companies such as WWE take them extremely seriously. If a concussion is suspected in a WWE match, it's likely to be called off. However, back in 2002, this wasn't the case, and wrestlers were expected to continue and finish the match as planned. This was the case during the TLC match on Raw in 2002, as Bubba Ray Dudley suffered a serious concussion. The concussion was so substantial that Dudley didn't even have a clue where he was, and he didn't even know how to climb a ladder. But this is when Chris Jericho stepped up, as he realized that if Dudley continued as planned, he was going to get seriously hurt and could even potentially injure someone else in the match. What Jericho did was extremely smart, as he in essence talked Dudley through key spots in the match in the most basic manner possible, probably including how to climb a ladder. This thankfully allowed Dudley to finish his scripted spots, but it goes without saying that Dudley should have been pulled from the match immediately. He would go to hospital, and his concussion was so bad that he was asking for his mother, despite his mother passing away a number of years prior. Number 5. Triple H. Now, speaking of concussions, one of the most terrifying concussions in WWE took place in the main event of SummerSlam 2000. Kurt Angle was legitimately knocked out when he was pedigreed through the announce table by Triple H, and once Triple H realized that Angle was seriously hurt, he stepped up and prevented Angle from further injury. Now, according to the game himself during an appearance on Logan Paul's podcast, he insisted that Angle didn't move an inch. So I grab him by his straps and I pull him down and I said, "Dude, don't move." I hold him there and I tell the referee like he's out. So they take him on a cart to the back, which was supposed to happen, except that he's out and he has no idea where he is. We don't know if he's coming back. And the whole thing is him coming from the back with Steph and coming from the back and doing all this stuff. But Triple H and The Rock, who was also in the match, were then forced to improvise on the spot, as they didn't even know if Angle was going to return to in-ring action. None of this should have ever happened, but we didn't know this at the time. But Kurt goes into the back, Rock and I are just working now. Now we're off script and we're just working. We're just talking to each other, and at some point we're getting feedback from the back, from the referee, and finally I just tell Earl Hebner, "Earl, do not tell me one thing," with a lot of expletives in there, that they say in the back, "I don't give a shit. I need one thing. Tell me if he's coming back, if he knows where he is." Triple H was truly incredible in the match, as Angle did eventually resurface, and this was when he realized that Angle was in even worse condition than he initially thought. Now here comes Kurt, and we see him. Steph has him like a kid, like walking him down the ramp, and he's glazed over. He has no idea where he is. Now Rock and I start doing stuff with him and literally just tell him what to do. At one point I go to punch him with Steph behind him, and he's got the duck and punch. I'm gonna hit Steph, and like he can see me rearing up, he's just looking at me. I know he's not ducking. I had to grab him by the neck and pull him out of the way so I could hit Steph. Now it was an absolute miracle that the match came together as well as it did, as it should have been a disaster. Angle has personally praised both Triple H and The Rock for their efforts in the match, as they did without a doubt act like total pros. Number 4, CM Punk. It's vital that during ladder and Money in the Bank matches that wrestlers look after each other, as some of the spots in the match could lead to career-ending injuries if they go wrong. At WrestleMania 25, the biggest spot in the match saw Shelton Benjamin leap from the top of the ladder onto a mass of humanity. Whilst it wasn't directly picked up on camera, it was clear that the way Benjamin was falling, he was gonna land straight on his head. But CM Punk was awesome in this, and clearly noticed what was going to happen and rotated Benjamin's head at the last moment, as when the camera cut to the fall out of the spot on the floor, Punk had Benjamin's head cradled in his arms. Now, these are the types of saves that are extremely common, and is often the duty of the wrestlers in the match to ensure that their opponents have a safe landing. Well, in most cases. Number 3, Dominic Mysterio. Now in 2024 on Raw, Dominic Mysterio showed the world why he's one of the best young wrestlers in the world. Rhea Ripley was involved in a spot where she got tangled in the ropes, and due to her height, it looked like she was about to smash her head onto the floor. Mysterio, who was literally a foot away from Ripley, decided to stick his foot out, and this stopped Ripley from landing on her head. Mysterio quite rightly received a ton of praise for this save, as his quick thinking saved Ripley from what could have been a nasty head injury. This type of wrestling mentality is what makes good wrestlers become exceptional, and it's this type of quick thinking that makes a pro wrestler incredibly valuable as a trustworthy, dependable talent. Number 2, Kofi Kingston. Sometimes in wrestling, a wrestler stepping up to save their opponent can have dire consequences, and this was the case for Kofi Kingston in 2023 on SmackDown. Drew McIntyre would perform a signature dive over the ropes, but he failed to get enough momentum. Due to this, Kingston, who was one of the men who was supposed to catch McIntyre, moved forward to take all of the blow. Kingston's quick thinking stopped McIntyre from receiving an injury, but in doing so, he injured his ankle and was forced to miss a considerable amount of time from in-ring action. And number 1, Asuka. Now, Asuka is often praised for being one of the greatest female pro wrestlers of all time, and for good reason. Whilst Asuka's in-ring work looks stiff and sometimes brutal, she attained a reputation for being incredibly safe in the ring and having insanely good ring awareness. On Raw in November 2025, Charlotte Flair was about to take the insane elbow from Kairi Sane, and this was when Asuka noticed that Flair's arm was completely out of position. For the double team spot to work effectively and safely, the wrestler who's taking the move must keep their arm at their side. Unfortunately, Flair's arm dropped, so if the move proceeded, she would have had a landing that may have led to her breaking her arm. Asuka immediately realized this moment before Sane hit the move, and she adjusted Flair's arm to the correct position. Asuka did this in such a subtle way that it was hard to notice, and once fans picked up on this save on social media, the Empress of Tomorrow was given her flowers. But there you have it folks, 10 unnoticeable times that WWE wrestlers were saved from serious injury. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.